Should be streaming now on the channel. Graham G.S. Matthews here live for episode 500 of hashtag AskGSM. Waiting to see if it hits record on the channel here. I'm not sure if it's live or not. It should be. It's popping up on my end. Excellent connection.
Oh.
Love seeing that. You're checking on your end right now. Alexa's joining me, obviously.
Hi.
Is it working or
Yeah.
no? Nothing yet.
Yeah.
You're hearing it or no? She's checking.
Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah, it sounds good.
Typically, the last time I did 400 2 years ago, you were my audio person. I think RJ may have checked for me. But you weren't here for episode 4. You haven't done any of these live, the hashtags. Actually, that's not true. We did the anniversary show live a couple of years ago. You were my audio technician on the other end at home, but now you're here with me, and we're doing it live. Mm-hmm. So now you have to check on your phone. If I was doing this by myself and I had no friends or family, then I'd be kind of fucked. But thankfully, I have you here alongside me. I would ask RJ, don't want to bother him. But we are live here on the channel for episode 500 of hashtag AskGSM. Now, I don't know if the audio is working properly. It may be. It may not be. Does it sound fine on your end?
Yeah, it sounds fine.
All right. It sounds like it's a little off on my end as far as the studio, what I'm seeing on my end, but we'll work through it. We got a ton of questions to answer. Obviously, if you have any questions in the chat that you're watching live, tune in at any point. If you tune in for 5 minutes, 50 minutes, 5 seconds, any of that support is greatly appreciated. We have not gone live here on the channel in quite a while. I think my last live stream, you're looking at the playlist right now, was 2 years ago. Mr. Marceau and myself reviewing the first ever Rampage back in the summer of 2021. And then before that, I was live for episode 400. I was live for episode 300. And I was live for episode 200 as well. So it's been a bit, it's been a while in the last couple of years. But we'll try to get this done before Dynamite. That is the hope. That is the intention. We will not go too long. It will take a little bit longer with Alexis here alongside me. But your first time joining me here on the show in a couple of months. You were here on the show a few months ago, I think in March or April or one of those two. You were here a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I think so.
And per your own request, because you wanted to come back on so bad. But
yeah, I did.
let me see. Let me just try to find the link for the video in which we're live right now. And then I have the tweet up. I just have to, let's see. Can you send me, this is going to sound dumb. Actually, maybe I can do it myself. I'm trying to find the actual, legit link. I have the back end right now. Let's see, WrestleRant. I'm trying to find the actual link of the video that I can put in the tweet so other people can tune in. We'll get started in just a second. It says we're... Okay, so on your end, the video... Okay, the thumbnail is Roman Reigns and John Cena. I don't know why. That's the live stream photo from last time.
Oh, that's weird.
It didn't change. Maybe I can change that. I don't know if I can change it right now. I'm not really sure. All right, we'll do this. Boom. All right. Tweeted. Perfect. All right, we'll put up the Facebook page here, and we'll get it going on that end. I'm going to try. The good thing is if you're watching the live video, then you have that picture, which is key. Not that it really makes much of a difference. I just have OCD with this sort of stuff, and it bothers me if it's showing a different picture. I actually had the name of the last video that I did on here when I almost went live a second ago. You see, look at the thumbnail.
Yeah, that is weird.
I don't know. Can I edit that here? Customization. Oh, here we go. I can change that now. There we go. Again, not that big of a deal, but let's see. GT.
Oh my God, you have so many pictures called GTS.
I have 20,000 pictures named a lot of different things that I use for articles and stuff. That's all the thumbnail, all the things from last time. Save. All right, it should be updated. We should be good. We're live here on the channel for episode 500 of hashtag AskGSM. 10 years in the making. You can probably turn the video off on your end and stop listening on your end because you're going to get some echo.
I turned it down.
Okay, I think we're good with the audio.
I think if I sit at this angle, you can't hear me.
Okay.
I think.
Oh yeah, you got to talk kind of directly into the video,
yeah.
But and the microphone. But yeah, the 10-year anniversary of the show. I would have timed it up exactly, but like I've said before here on the show a couple of weeks ago, the 10-year anniversary of the show actually falls on our own anniversary.
Yeah.
So I can't go live that day. That being July 8th, 2013. I started doing the show. Here we are, 500 episodes later, almost exactly a decade. Insane. Wanted to start doing this 10 years ago as a Q&A show. We did one video, and then the very next week, I think I lost internet. and I had to do it as an article form on the website. So I don't think technically there's been 501 episodes, including this one, but it wasn't a video. It was an article form on WrestleRant.com. You can go back and check it out. But other than that, there have been 500 episodes here on the channel. We've had a lot of guests on. We've done a lot of live videos. I can't even, for anyone, no one's asked this, in my own, what I'm thinking right now, how many people have sent in questions since July of 2013? That would be worth looking into at some point. That would take me fucking forever to figure out. I have kept every question I've ever been sent. I'm sure it's in the thousands by now in the last 10 years. I'm sure more than that. Some videos have some questions. Some videos have 3 pages worth of questions, and it's been a lot of fun. In the last 10 years, I can't stress that enough. I can't say that enough throughout this stream as far as the support this show has received more than probably anything else I've ever done on this channel. We've done a lot of WrestleRant videos, WrestleRant radio excerpts, interviews, a lot of reactions and stuff like that. I have done no series here on this channel for as consistently, for as long as I have done this show. And I have done it now for obviously 10 years, but I think we have not missed a week of this show, aside from recently at WrestleMania, and I did record it that weekend. WrestleMania 39 weekend, I did record it. Didn't put it up until a couple days later. But other than that, I don't think I've missed an episode in close to 8 years. A Wednesday or a Monday, which is when the show typically was put up, and I put it up on Thursdays and the weekends before, depending on what's going on. And again, I appreciate all the support the show has gotten in the last 10 years. So, Alexis, you're here to answer questions alongside me, not just here to hear me ramble, not just to sit here, hear me ramble. So let's get into it. If you want to send in a question to the show, either do so by hit me up in the chat. I think I could see it here on the right. I'm going to put, I think it's top chat, live chat. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Not really much of a difference, but I'm going to keep that up here in case anyone has any questions or anything they want to say, audio issues, has any questions they want to ask as we're going live here. That would be terrific. And then I also have all the questions sent in from last night. So again, like I said, if you want to send in a question for the first time in quite a while, you can send it in here live in the chat, but you can also send it to me every single week for episode 501 and beyond on Twitter at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com at /Graham.GSM.Matthews with the question usually going up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And also drop a question, and not only in the chat on this video, but in the comment section of every video, the last previous hashtag AskGSM, I'll answer your question in next week's edition or here live today, like I said, if you send it in time. So let's get into it here. No L from YouTube. Their first question of 2. What would be your top 5 Money in the Bank cash-ins? Quite fitting for Saturday. Pay-per-view coming up on Saturday night. I wrote down 3 names here that are indisputable. If you don't agree, click off now. You're a fool. Rollins, Edge, and Ziggler. You can honestly put those in any order and you would not be wrong. Those are the undisputed greatest cash-ins of all time. Nothing else even comes close. So you're asking top 5 like best. You didn't say favorite. There is a difference there. You might, for some reason, have an emotional attachment to Corbin cashing in and unsuccessfully getting beaten in like 10 seconds by Jinder Mahal. I don't know. For me personally, the top 3 cash-ins in no particular order are Rollins, Edge, and Ziggler. For me personally, I would put Rollins as number 1, just because of the circumstance. He cashed in successfully. It was definitely a shock in terms of how it was executed. A lot of people, myself included, thought he might do it the next night on the Raw after Mania, or even after the match at Mania, not during the match. First time ever, perfectly executed, pinned Roman, not Brock, who was the champion at that point. Just an amazing moment to close off that WrestleMania. So I got to go Rollins number 1. Edge and Ziggler are kind of interchangeable 2 and 3. And I would also put up there, thinking about it now, Dean Ambrose, Money in the Bank 2016, an amazing cash-in. Also the only night where the Shield members, every single man was a world champion within like a 5-minute time span. So that was a great cash-in. I always enjoyed the Miz's. I don't know if I would say that one specifically, but Miz's was the first one, not the second one, in the fucking Thunderdome. That one I enjoyed. Punk's first, I mean both of them, but really the first one. I remember it was 15 years ago from this coming Friday, June 30th. I had Danny Matt over, actually. We were hanging out at my house 15 years ago as measly 8th graders, and then during the show, while it was airing live, I did not watch Raw live that night. I recorded the show to watch it after the fact. Jackson, my younger brother, runs downstairs and says, "Graham, Punk cashed in." Punk cashed in, he's screaming, all excited. And I said, "Jackson, you fucking ruined it."
I remember you.
I said, "You fucking ruined it." And guess what? He never watched wrestling again after that.
Really?
That's a shoot. He never was as excited to watch wrestling again after that. I think I killed a little bit of his passion for pro. He's not a fan now, and he hasn't been a fan for many, many years. But at that point, I think I killed any interest he had in pro wrestling by me telling him he fucking blew it, like it's Billy Madison.
You're terrible, brother.
And I was pissed that he spoiled that for me. But still, a great moment nonetheless when he went back and watched it a couple hours later. So I would go ahead and say those. So again, enough of me blabbering here. What are your favorite, again, Money in the Bank cash-ins that you can remember that come to mind?
I don't have any because
God, what use do you bring to the show? Go ahead.
Austin Theory. No, I'm just kidding. That's god awful.
You can click off.
I don't know. I don't have a favorite because ever since I have been actually like actively watching with you, they haven't been. I mean, I don't know. I don't really. The only one that I can think of was someone that that happened when I wasn't watching, and that was Rollins. That's because I've seen the clip and it was just cool, and you've told me how cool it was. I don't have anyone.
Not Braun Strowman's. Not who else has won in the last couple of years? Otis, who didn't cash in successfully. Not Baron Corbin or Brock Lesnar.
Do you hear yourself?
No, I'm kidding, but I'm just saying there's been no great. And Big E's was quite great. I enjoyed that one.
That would be one, but the problem is
that's the only one.
That is the only good one, exactly.
In the last 5 years, and if we're including the women's too, I mean, to be fair,
cashed in the same night.
Okay, but that's not always the worst thing. I would say I was there in 2018 and 2019 when Alexa Bliss cashed in successfully and when Bayley cashed in successfully. You were there for that one too.
Yeah,
the Bayley one was great.
Bayley one was cool.
I'll say the Bayley one. I'll throw that in as an honorable mention. So I'll say Rollins, Edge, Ziggler, Ambrose, and Bayley are all probably either my favorite, top 5, whatever the fuck you want to say. Because the Punk one as well. I take the Bayley one off and put Punk in there. But I would put Bayley in there as an honorable mention. Carmella's was great. The well runs dry beyond that because Asuka never really cashed in. She just traded it in for a title. Mm-hmm. In 2021, Nikki Cross. 2022, it was, we don't speak about Nikki Cross's. And last year, it was Liv Morgan, who had a great cash-in, but her reign was very forgettable. But we're talking the cash-ins. We're not talking about the title reigns. And it would have been a better moment had she not rushed it that night. So those are the ones I would include in the greatest Money in the Bank cash-ins of all time. Should AEW Collision, their second question is, bring in new championship belts? That is a resounding no, my friend. They should absolutely not do that. Just because you might be going off the mindset, as I thought about this as well. They got a brand split, a soft brand split going on right now. Not really, but kind of. They have enough championships as it is. I think AEW has enough titles to where I think they can make it work, either having the championships defended on both brands and not having fucking 2 world champions. Since it's not a hard brand split, if it was, I would say get another world title. But you already have 2 women's championships. You got tag titles, and you don't have enough of a tag team division to really break it up between 2 brands anyway, because the tag division's very weak right now, in my opinion, in AEW. You have trio titles. I mean, those are kind of like the tag titles for Collision right now. I know FTR is also on Saturdays. You have the 2 women's titles, like I said. You have the international title, which is far more important than the fucking TNT title. I would keep the international title on Wednesdays on Dynamite and make the TNT title exclusive to Collision since that airs on TNT anyway. Any thoughts on whether you think Collision should have its own set of championship belts or no?
I think it's a nice idea in theory, but I don't know. I think the problem is what you already said. They don't need a shit ton of titles. They really don't. I think the wrestling can speak for itself, but they already have enough when you really think about it. So I think they'd be fine.
Mike and Dessa from YouTube, their first question was, when you first saw wrestling, what hooked you and to continue watching it? What match or story?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Go first.
Okay, so I started watching wrestling in like 2011-ish. Whenever like Summer of Punk was a thing. Was that 2011?
That was, well, yeah, 20. I mean, I don't know if you were talking about that specifically. I think you're talking about 2013.
That kind of era. Or like The Rock versus CM Punk.
That was 2013. That's what I said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think I started watching a little bit before that because my dad and my brothers always had it on, and the person that I was really intrigued by was Bray Wyatt and the whole cult gimmick. Because I grew up as an actor, studied acting and all that, so that's definitely what hooked me in, was just Bray Wyatt and his performance as the cult character, but more so The Rock being on there, and CM Punk being CM Punk. And I would say like the whole authority stuff too, that stuff was cool, but I would say the biggest one was Bray Wyatt and CM Punk being an asshole.
For me, it was William Regal. I mean, I became a Punk fan actually years later. I always liked Punk, but I didn't like him as much around when I started watching in 2008. I talked about this ad nauseum, so I'll keep this brief. But I actually became a wrestling fan 15 years ago from this past April. April 14th, 2008 to be exact. I actually watched wrestling a little bit before that for the sole reason that I wanted to fit in among my friends at school. As dumb as that sounds, because wrestling is like the exact opposite now. You actually want to fit in by not watching wrestling. But at the time that I was in middle school in 2007, kids my age were watching wrestling. It was like the cool thing. I had known some people through my baseball team that were like into wrestling, and they used to watch it like around 2005, 2006. I would pretend to know who some of the wrestlers were and who fucking Carlito was actually, and John Cena, because they'd be all over USA Network. I used to watch USA Network with my grandfather for like Walker, Texas Ranger and other shows on the network. I didn't watch wrestling though really until 2008, but I tried it out in 07. The first, I think, maybe not full episode of Raw that I watched, but like the biggest angle that I first remember seeing was Mr. McMahon revealing Hornswoggle as his illegitimate son. One of the worst fucking storylines in company history. But I remember that, and I tried to like a couple of months later, Jericho came back to the company, and I tried to tell this kid that Matt was friends with, not my friend. He was like a friend of a friend. Mm-hmm. And I go, I watched the shit. Like, he was talking about Raw, and he goes, did you see the big return last night? I go, I did. And I kind of watched it, but not really. And he goes, oh, yeah, then who was it? And I go, and he goes, you're a fucking faker.
Oh, my God.
He was pissed. Like, he was, like, fucking this tribalist mentality. Like, he was gatekeeping pro wrestling. I'm like, holy shit.
I will say I hate when people do that, when they're like, did you see this? Okay, well, then tell me what it was. Like, what a dick move.
And he asked me what time frame, like, what exact time of the night. No,
that is so rude.
But, yeah, I was like, oh, geez. So I did catch the 15th year anniversary show, but I didn't start watching really, like, from week to week until April of 08, when I caught a commercial while watching Monk, because I was off on spring break from school, and I saw a commercial for Raw that night in England, which is ironic because they're going to be in England, or coincidental since they're in England now and for the weekend for Money in the Bank, featuring William Regal versus Randy Orton. And I love the dynamic of Regal being like the heel authority figure, but he was like the baby face in his hometown, which I loved. And the whole English aspect of it was cool because I have English in my family or whatever, but I just thought it was cool. And Regal really stood out to me as being like the fucking man. So it wasn't like people say, like this match made me a fan or this story. I mean, it was a storyline, but it wasn't really any one particular match. Like the Orton and Regal match that night on Raw was like fucking 7 minutes. It was far from anything out of the ordinary. But Regal's character arc, like him going on to win King of the Ring as a heel GM, it was like this power-hungry asshole making life hell for everyone on the roster. Like, that was what really drew me in. The character stuff specifically, I think a lot of people could speak for it, was what made me a fan of the product at that time, because there wasn't a lot else to be a fan of, because a lot of the wrestling at that point sucked. But between that, Edge and Taker, Shawn and Jericho was another storyline at the time. That was what really drove me in and made me want to watch weekly.
I will say, like, when we first started dating again, you took me to my first show in, like, what was it, like, middle of August of 2018. And I didn't really care for it at the time because I had taken a couple years off of just watching it. So I think what got me back into it was actually NXT, specifically a combination of a couple things. A match with Gargano and Tony Nese, which I think was on 205 Live or something at the time.
It was on NXT.
Was it on NXT?
Yeah, it was on NXT.
Oh, okay. So it was a match with Gargano and Tony Nese, which is very ironic because it just sounds like a throwaway match. And I became a Gargano fan. But more importantly, it was the storyline of who attacked Aleister Black. Mm-hmm. That's what made me a fan again. And then I started watching NXT, and then we started watching, and then, the rest is history, basically, and I watch everything with you now, so.
Yeah, and we've been watching every week since then, or, when you're not on TikTok, that is, but no, I kid.
Whoa!
I kid. Although I'm not.
I don't think you kid.
Tell me, stop me when you hear a lie.
That's a lie.
CM Punk would say, that's not a lie.
No, that is a lie.
That's not a lie.
Yes, it is.
How is it not a lie?
Because I don't watch TikTok anymore as much like I used to.
Oh, okay, you're just on Instagram, my bad.
No, I'm not on Instagram. I'm doing math homework.
It's so defensive.
No.
Next question. In that same vein, also from Micah Does It from YouTube. Is the Bloodline story the greatest story ever told in the world of professional wrestling? Also, congrats to the 500 episodes. I think it's a bit soon to be saying that because it's not over yet. Is it one of the greatest stories in WWE history? Yes, it is. Is it the greatest story in WWE history? Again, I feel like I'm disqualified from saying that until the story's over, but there's a good chance it very well may go down as the greatest story ever told. I mean, you can also put like Vince and Stone Cold in that conversation. That probably is the greatest story they've ever told. Will this go down as being better than that when all is said and done? Honestly, I'm not going to say it isn't. I mean, because I don't know if it has or will. Could it? Yes, I think it could. You said in all of wrestling. That is difficult to say. I'm going to say no. You might ask me, then what is? I also don't know that question because I haven't watched every angle that's ever existed. But you have to remember, wrestling was a lot bigger back in the day, even as something as simple as Andre the Giant challenging Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 3, when he was previously a babyface, turning on Hogan. He had been, quote-unquote, undefeated for 15 years, challenging the champion of like a year or two, that being Hulk Hogan. Was still considered one of the greatest successes in company history, to the point where they garnered a year later for the Mania rematch on Saturday Night's Main Event or whatever show that was, or just called the Main Event or whatever, 33 million viewers. I mean, what even can compare to that? Even outside of wrestling, you know, that's like Super Bowl type numbers. So it's hard to say like it's the greatest story of all time. It's not like wrestling. Wrestling is hotter now than it even was a couple of years ago, even prior to COVID. That's not to say it's salvaged the business, but I mean, I assume your answer is the same as mine. Would you agree with that? Where would you, I mean, I know you can't say if it's the greatest story ever told in wrestling, but in your own opinion, where would you rank it to the knowledge of what you have of WWE? What are your thoughts on the Bloodline storyline?
I would say no. I would say that's a hard no.
Hard no?
It's a hard no. I'm going to tell you why, because first of all, there's a couple of factors. I will say, I'm going to do a compliment sandwich here. I think the acting that everyone in this whole storyline, you know, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens included, I think they've knocked it out of the park. They've done a great job, Roman included, all the little details, like, insane. Like, fantastic job. I think compared to even the stuff back then, decades ago, this stuff is so layered and, like, there's so much depth to what's going on that you really have to, like, give them props for it. But there's stuff that they absolutely could have done differently that I think has made the recent Bloodline stuff, to me, fall a tiny bit flat. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's bad by any means. By any means do I think that. I'm just saying, like...
She said it sucked. That's basically what she's saying.
First of all, Cody should have won. And
get over it.
I think... You just said on your show the other day.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. He's all mad because I listen to his show now. So now I can say it.
No. Pointing that, boof.
I'm sorry.
You know that makes you sound worse than it does make you sound better.
No, I don't think so.
Yes, it does, but go ahead.
No, I used to listen before, just not as much.
Okay.
Now I'm listening to everything.
We've been together for 5 years. Move on. What else?
Anyways, Cody should have won, and I think that could have made the storyline a little bit better given the atmosphere. I think the stakes could have been raised a little bit higher in different aspects. Is it up there? Abso-fucking-lutely. Absolutely. It's one of the best storylines they've probably ever done. I agree with you on that. But I think they could have made improvements. And I think somewhere in wrestling there is a storyline that was done right in every way, shape, or form. And just looking at it from a, you know, on the surface perspective, the Bloodline one, I definitely could have, like, improved it. If I were booking it, I could have made it a little bit better.
Oh, okay. I'll call Triple H and ask him.
Okay, yeah. No, I already called him.
See if he could use your help.
Okay.
Because I'm sure he's struggling right now. He's like, man, if I really
need Alexa.
I know. I could really use her help. Man, she got the GM of the Year award in SVR 07 the one time. She knows what she's doing.
Stop trying to bury me.
Emmanuel A via YouTube. You did that yourself when you said you haven't listened to anything in the last 5 years until now.
What?
Emmanuel, and my own shit. You just said you don't listen.
No, I did not say that. I said I'm listening to everything now.
Now?
Yeah, everything.
Where was that the last 5 years?
I used to be like a casual listener.
Casual listener.
Yeah.
We got a couple counseling here on the show. That's what this is going to turn into.
Exactly.
Emmanuel A from YouTube. First question. And this is the leading question for today's episode. I put this as the headline and the thumbnail because I thought it was interesting, and I was thinking the same thing. Do you think CM Punk should continue as a babyface and become the AEW equivalent of John Cena? It might be risky, considering Cody Rhodes struggled with this during the end of his AEW run. but do you think CM Punk acting as the divisive, controversial quote-unquote face of AEW could work? Great question. I'm going to keep Alexis on her toes here by throwing it to her first because I have an answer, but I'm not going to give it away until after she speaks.
No.
Okay, I'll explain.
I love CM Punk, but I think him as a person, he's so... Like, John Cena is not the type of person where, like, a lot of people backstage are like, half the people don't like him, the other half do like him. Like, CM Punk is such a controversial person, both backstage and I guess now with the fans, that if you treat him how WWE treated John Cena, I just don't think that's going to end well. Especially, did he say he would be a good guy?
He said, basically a babyface masquerading as a heel, a la John Cena. Mm-hmm. And if you don't understand that comparison, and that's not to belittle you, I'm just saying that during the peak of what John Cena was at that point, in which what he's talking about, I mean, you weren't really watching at that point. What he's saying is, should he be what I know you would remember and can relate to, what Cody Rhodes was before he left AEW a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Where he was like a babyface, but it's like, dude, you're out there getting booed half the time. But he gets a reaction now. Your thoughts?
Yes and no to that, actually. I'll say yes because it definitely, it's like the Seth Rollins thing, right? Right before he was a bad guy. It was very brief with Rollins. But still kind of. I will say that probably get more people watching, but I don't know. That whole thing is... I don't know. I'm torn on that because he's such a good bad guy, and if it was more apparent if he was being some sort of smartass person that's like the face of the company and acts like he runs the place, like if he upped the ante, like he's doing that now a little bit with his attitude. If he upped the ante a little bit, it could work. But I think ultimately he needs to fully turn at some point. It can't go on forever. All right, listen up. Two things. One, Average Grunt, thank you. He said, hey, yo, happy 500. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you sending in the 500 love. Average Grunt has sent in a lot of questions in the last 10 years. Average Grunt has been a follower and a friend of mine since before I even started doing the show. So thank you for tuning in, my friend. I appreciate you. I'm glad you had a great time at Forbidden Door. He was at the show the other day. He's from Canada. They don't get a lot of shows up there, any big shows, that is. So I'm glad you were there and had a great time. Two, the answer is no from me as well. I'm going to chime in and add to what Alexis said. I think there is money in the whole divisive John Cena, Cody Rhodes thing where it's like, I'm a babyface, but I'm getting booed. I'll give you this. And I'm probably not the best person to speak on this because I'm a CM Punk fan. I am going to tune into every show he is on because I like CM Punk. I'm a CM Punk fan. Even if I wasn't a CM Punk fan, I still think it's worth tuning into the shows that he's on to see what type of reaction he's going to get. Honestly, what he did at Forbidden Door, that show is excellent. His stuff at Forbidden Door was one of my favorite parts of the entire show, putting aside my fandom for the guy for a second, just to hear the reaction that he got. And it's not like he's out there still kissing babies and hugging fat girls, as Batista would say back in the day to John Cena. It's not like he's out there like, hey guys, I'm a babyface. Like Cody Rhodes was out there acting like a fucking babyface. I think there's a difference there. John Cena was out there acting like a babyface. Now, there were times when he would, like, play into it a little bit. Punk is fucking playing into it. Punk was out there acting like a dickhead on Sunday in the most entertaining way possible. It was fucking funny. And when he was, like, screaming Lariat in the corner and screaming Kojima at Kojima, it was hysterical. Like, he's out there, and he's doing the Hulk Hogan thing. During his match on Saturday, the eight-man tag team match on Saturday's Collision of last week. He did the Hulk Hogan hand thing when he first came out, and then he did the leg rub during the actual match, which is just great. That is funny. It was pretty fucking funny. So he knows what he's doing, I would say. He's well aware of what he's doing, and listen, the people care. The people are still reacting. It's not like people don't give a shit about him. If you don't give a shit about him, then you wouldn't react, and he wouldn't even be out there. And listen, I feel like you could also make the comparison of Roman Reigns, too. Roman Reigns was another one. 4 years where they were like, WWE was like, well, he gets a reaction, so we're not going to turn him heel. You know, he was out there, and he was supposed to be the grand babyface. And his character was so unlikable, but he didn't really play into it like Punk did. Cody Rhodes never, again, at least in my opinion, never really played into it either. And neither did John Cena. Punk is. And I think the reason why they're doing this, and why he's even teasing it and whatever,
And I know they need to top babyface for Collision, at least for right now. Face or heel, to me, as long as he's the star of that show, which is kind of why they created the show in the first place, let's be honest, to kind of get him away from the Elite and give him his own platform, that's really all that matters, regardless of his character alignment. Is the Shades of Grey thing intriguing? It is. I mean, Diesel did this at one point, and so did Bret Hart back in the 90s. I think it's honestly a really cool fucking character dynamic where not everyone's good and not everyone's bad, and you have that character where if you like him, he likes you. But if you don't like him, he says, fuck you. You know, like that type of thing. If you're out there wearing a Punk shirt, he'll give you a high five or whatever. But if you're out there booing him, he'll call you out on it. So he's like that type of person, where he's a babyface only in Chicago, but everywhere else, he's like a heel. That being said, I think that's an entertaining dynamic to have character-wise, but you can't do that permanently. I think that'll only go so far, and not the only, because I said I'm digging it right now. It'll only take him so far. In 3 or 4 months, if he's still facing heels and they're getting not louder reactions, but more positive reactions than he is, and he's supposed to be the likable babyface, that's a problem. But what he's doing right now is fine. And honestly, again, why I'm okay with what he's doing right now is because I still think that the ultimate end game is him turning heel. I said this last week when he came out on Saturday's Collision. I actually didn't love the promo as much as most people did. I thought the promo was good. And what I didn't like about it was that if they want him to be a babyface and kind of endear himself to the audience, he really should have apologized for what he did at the scrum. But he didn't. He was like, if you didn't like it, then get the fuck over it. The reason is this. Do I think he actually feels that way? Do I know the guy personally? No. Do I think he feels that way? No. Because he said as much in that interview with ESPN a day earlier. He was like, I shouldn't have done that. It was 100% on me. I would take it back. He did not say that on television, because what he said on television is his character. That makes sense. So, I mean, I just feel like he's doing this on purpose because they're nearing that heel turn. That's the ultimate end game, and that's where they're going to go with it at some point down the road. Heel CM Punk is fucking money. I mean, we have not seen... I was thinking about this right before we started here. CM Punk has not been a heel in 10 years. I mean, you can argue he's been a heel on Twitter and to the fans and, like, you can, in public appearances and stuff. On a pro wrestling television show, he's not been a heel in over a decade. That is insane. Now, I know he was gone for 7 years, but before he left WWE, and since being back in AEW, he's been a babyface the entire time, and justifiably so. People love Punk. They should not have turned him heel as soon as he came in. But we're at a point now where people really do not fucking like this guy. He got an overwhelmingly negative response on Saturday. That might continue on Saturday next week, at Collision next week, and the week after, and the week after. He's going to be in Canada for a while, so it's going to continue for a little bit. If he's overwhelmingly responded to positively, I would say keep him babyface. That's probably not going to be the case, though. I think ultimately these reactions will continue, and he will go heel, and it's going to be glorious. And also another thing, I want him babyface for the time being so he can feud with Samoa Joe, which I feel like is coming, and sign me the fuck up on that. And probably Jay White as well, who was kind of already interacted with on TV in recent weeks, and hopefully we can get a full-on feud out of it. After that stuff is over, turn the guy fucking heel, have him feud with the Ricky Starks and whoever else on Saturdays. Is he feuding with the Elite? No, he's not going to, at least not anytime in the foreseeable future, if not ever. But still, I feel like heel CM Punk is coming, and it's something I'm excited for. So, I don't know. He's at this point, again, I know I'm biased because I'm a Punk mark, whatever. I just feel like he's one of the more must-see aspects of the program right now because we don't know what he's going to do next. We don't know how he's going to be booked. We don't know what he's going to be. We don't know where they're going with it exactly. I have an idea, but that doesn't mean we don't know when it's going to happen or even if that's going to happen at all. So, anything to add on to that? She's shaking her head? No. Next question, or actually from Grunt. He said agreed 100. Crowd was on fire during that match. He said, can't argue with that, what he said. And also from JCW555, he sent in a question, which I'll get to soon enough. He said, hey, Graham, congrats on the 500 episodes again. I appreciate it. I think that's from Jeremiah, so thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. It means a lot before we hit Dynamite in a couple of hours. And again, anyone that has ever sent in a question, whether it be 1 or 500 for 500 episodes, I appreciate you, and it means a lot. If you've listened to all 500 episodes, and then more power to you, but I don't think there's anyone out there that's listened to all 500. Let's see. Next question, also from Emmanuel. Speaking of John Cena, have you heard about the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem movie? I noticed that you didn't mention it when you got asked about summer movies. I'm guessing that you're not into the TMNT franchise. For what it's worth, the movie is scheduled for August 2nd, and John Cena is voicing the character Rocksteady, who ironically was played by Sheamus in the last live-action TMNT movie. No, I don't really care for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff. I think they're cool, but listen, I didn't follow the cartoon as a kid. The closest I've ever had to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fandom, and I've seen the original movies, I think. I know enough about them, but I don't know if I've seen them from start to finish. I had the video game for the GameCube back in the day, 20 years ago. Beyond that, I haven't really followed their stuff. I did see the 2007 movie. I watched that. I remember going to see that in theaters like 15, 16 years ago. I did not see the 2 live-action ones a few years ago. I didn't hear the best things anyway. I know Sheamus was in that movie. I remember him being in the promotional material for it. But yeah, no, I'm not you said I didn't mention it among my summer releases. Yeah, and there was a reason for that. I probably won't see it unless I see. My whole criteria is this: if I see enough people reacting positively to it, if I feel like it's a must-see movie, I'll go see it. If it's a movie that's talked about within a couple days and people quickly move on from it, then I probably won't see it. And if you don't have to have seen the other installments to enjoy it, then I'll, even more so. That's great. I just don't really care for those. For those movies. I mean, the originals I would probably watch, but like the recent ones I didn't hear were great, and I was working at the movie theater at the time, and I remember when they came out, and I still didn't give a shit about it. So, any thoughts, Alexis, on TMNT?
I used to watch the cartoon when I was younger, but I don't. It's like 3D animated now, right? Is that the new one?
I honestly don't even know.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, I think JCW said I watched the 2003 TMNT cartoon and liked it quite a bit. I think that's the one I watched because I was born in 1999. So, yeah, I think I watched that. I don't know. I wouldn't watch that just because I feel like it's also tailored to like a much younger audience. And it's not even a question of like, oh, I would watch it for the nostalgia. Like, I don't know. It's just not interesting to me.
Oh, I don't care about the kid shit. I'll watch kid shit all day. I don't care about that.
No, I would too, but I also just think like it's not interesting. Like it doesn't have the same kind of vibe. Like the fact that it had like the 2D animation, like it had more of a grungy feel. Like that's pretty cool. This one I don't think does.
Yeah, Grunt said the first live action movie in Turtles in time on the SNES is what I grew up on with rather as a child. Like I said, I remember, I don't know if I've seen the live-action ones in full. I've seen videos on them, so I'm sure I could, like, if you showed me a part, I would probably remember it. I know Kevin Nash was Shredder in one of those movies. I remember that, which is pretty great. But, no, I probably won't see this one unless I hear enough things about it. And the thing is, too, we've seen so many movies lately, I don't want to go see something just to go see something. Like, it has to be somewhat interesting is another thing, too. If someone invited me to go see it, then maybe. Like, I'm more excited. Like, there's not a lot of must-see movies coming out. We've talked about it before. I said it last week. The 2 questions, and yes, Emmanuel, we're talking about your yes, we're talking about your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles question. I'm more so looking forward to Oppenheimer, not just because I care about, like, oh, it's, I mean, again, it sounds like it's going to be a massive movie, so I'm going to go see it for that reason. And obviously, Barbie. I mean,
Fuck yeah, I'm wearing all pink. I'm bringing all my Barbies, and we're taking our ass to the Barbie movie, bitch.
We will be seated for the Barbie movie.
We will be seated.
So, yeah.
We're going.
Maybe Haunted Mansion, too, but we'll see.
I go Haunted Mansion.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I dig the Haunted Mansion shit. Even if it ends up being, like, terrible, here's the thing. If it's bad, it's so bad it's bad, then no. But if it's so bad it's good, then maybe. That's kind of my criteria as well. And Emmanuel also said, I still think the TMNT movie looks fun. Hey, listen, I don't blame you for that. I'm just saying I just don't have any attachment to the franchise, so I just don't care to see the movie. I know John Cena's in it, but I'm not only going to see it just because he's in it. So we'll see. Maybe it'll end up being good. I hope it does well, and they make many more movies. We go to the next question here of Emmanuel's actually. So here you go. He asks a non-wrestling related question. You know the other cinematic universe franchises that tried to happen after the MCU took off? He says, I believe Sony has been trying to do a Sinister Six movie for a decade now. It was meant to happen after the Amazing Spider-Man films until they got canceled, the Andrew Garfield movies. And then the Sinister Six got uncanceled when Venom did well. They've basically been trying to emulate the Avengers with the Spider-Man brand. Even Universal tried to do it with their classic horror franchises, Dracula, The Mummy, as the Dark Universe. Yeah, I'm well aware of both of those things. I'm well aware of the second one because I remember when The Mummy with Tom Cruise came out. I saw it out of... what's the word? I did not see it out of...
Out of spite?
I guess, I don't know if out of spite is the right word. I was not petitioning.
Like protesting it?
Out of protest. I saw it. I did not see it out of protest. Justice for Brendan Fraser. I love those original movies. I heard it was terrible anyway. Cool. And obviously he's doing better now, which is great. But I love those original movies. The new one looked ass. It didn't do well anyway, so they didn't even end up doing what you had mentioned. I think I looked into that recently, actually, because it did intrigue me, where they were like, everyone wanted to start their own cinematic universe. It's still going on now. Like, oh, we got a dark universe, and then it failed, and they never ended up doing it. Spider-Man, I know about that one through my roommate Connor, who was a massive, massive, massive Venom fan, well before the movie came out. He's been wearing a Venom shirt since the day I fucking met the kid 10 years ago. He always used to tell me how he was pissed when it got canceled. Now it's uncanceled. Listen, I'm not the biggest, I love Spider-Man, but I'm not the biggest, person as far as the knowledge goes. But let me tell you this. And I was thinking about this recently, after I saw the Kraven trailer. If they're doing a Sinister Six movie with Venom, Kraven, and fucking Morbius, that sounds fucking terrible.
Wait, what?
Those are Spider-Man villains. And here's the other issue. All of those guys got their own movies. But in all of those movies, they're the good guys. I don't understand that. And then we're supposed to take them seriously as a threat to who? Tom Holland Spider-Man? Is there another Spider-Man? Miles Morales? I don't get the consistency. The Spider-Verse movies are amazing. Morbius was terrible. It was ass, dude. It was awful. And Kraven doesn't look great. And I enjoy the Venom movies, but they're far from, peak cinema. So it's is this really a good idea? And they also, remember the Morbius, you were wearing the shirt earlier, the Morbius post-credit scene when that guy showed up, Vulture.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this? It's so random. And they try to tie it into No Way Home. Dude, this is ass. This is ass.
I think, if you're going to do a cinematic universe, here's what you do. I don't think Marvel sat down and was like, let's make a cinematic universe and, let's plan this out. I mean, they probably, I don't know, I could be wrong. But, if other franchises are trying to do that, just let it organically happen. Just focus on making a good movie and then go from there. Take it movie by movie. If you're not Marvel, keep scrolling.
Yeah. Emmanuel mentioned, I asked about the cinematic universe stuff because you asked if the Spider-Man villains were building up to a crossover. Yeah, I already knew that. I knew they were probably, I didn't really put it together last week, but I kind of knew that because they basically flat out said it in that last movie. I didn't see Amazing Spider-Man 2. I didn't see either of them, actually. But I saw the ending of it on YouTube where they literally just show 6 villains and they were supposed to do a Sinister Six and they never ended up doing it. But if this is the Sinister Six they're going with, that just sounds fucking awful. I'm sorry. That just sounds awful.
That sounds pretty funny.
It sounds so bad. The Kraven looks okay. Morbius was just... Anyway, I can't. He also said the DC movies are so hit and miss, but they're still actually the most successful rival attempt. Yeah, they made a lot of money. The problem there is, say what you will about the Marvel movies, but, especially recently, the DC movies are far more inconsistent. I just don't get it. I mean, I know they're rebooting it now with James Gunn, but, they had Suicide Squad a couple years ago, the new one, which was great, the original one was terrible. Justice League was not good, at least I did not enjoy that at all. Didn't care about that. Wonder Woman, great. Second one, terrible. It's so inconsistent. I just don't... The Flash movie, I actually enjoyed that movie. Got terrible reviews. Shazam 2, incredibly forgettable. We enjoyed it. I liked the movie, but still far inferior to the first one. What else have they even done? Black Adam? I mean, that obviously didn't do well enough. I enjoyed that, but again, it's not really going anywhere. So it's just inconsistent, man. They got to get their shit together. Next question from also Emmanuel. Do you think Austin Theory could be the longest reigning United States champion ever? WWE has apparently been trying to, quote-unquote, modernize the record books, which is why there's been so many long title runs recently. The U.S. title still has the WCW lineage, though. So if Theory were to have the longest reign, he wouldn't just surpass Dean Ambrose's run, but also Rick Rude and Lex Luger's reigns. For reference, Ambrose, Rude, and Luger's reigns were 351, 378, and 523 days, respectively. You want to start this one off? Or do you want me to start it off? Do you think Theory's going to break the record for the longest reigning U.S. champion ever? Or do you think they just forgot they had the championship on him?
I think they just forgot.
I think it's the latter. No, I don't think Theory's going to break the record. To break the record, he would do it. Even Ambrose's record, he'd have to hold the title till November.
What? How long is his run now?
He's held it since November.
So how many days is that?
Days, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter how many days. I mean,
I don't
351 is under a year. 378 is just over a year. He'd basically, to break both of those records, he'd have to hold the title till November. And if they include WCW, which I guess they do, he's saying the longest reign is 523, which is like next summer. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely not. Listen, I'm a big Austin Theory fan. I really like him. We've met him a couple times, and he's one of the nicest guys that we've interviewed, or that you've interviewed, I guess. But I don't know. They fucked him up so bad. I don't know why. I know how, but the whole thing is fucked. So I think, I don't know. They have to get the title off of him, obviously. And it's really tragic what they've done with him, because he's amazing. He's very talented and he has so much potential. But he's awful right now.
He's not even on the show.
There you go.
Jey Uso, and he hasn't been on SmackDown since.
Well, when he was on the show.
When he is on the show. No, I don't think he'll break the records. They'll probably have him drop it to some random person. I mean, I hope it's either LA Knight, who's above that title now anyway, but Bobby, he's been done it. I don't know. Just have him take the championship. Someone's got to take the title off of him. Santos, give the title to Santos. I feel like he'd be a better fit for it. Or even Butch. Pete Dunne. That'd be great.
Maybe Pete Dunne first.
Central Man Network, hopefully soon. Are you a fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger films? I like Arnold. I don't know what movies exactly, but
Terminator?
I haven't seen Terminator, actually. I'm going to get crucified for that one, but you know what? I'm going to Google your question. Arnold Schwarzenegger films. I'm going to do a quick search Google.
I want to watch Terminator.
I would watch Terminator. So Terminator, I don't know what that one is. Journey to China, I haven't seen that. Aftermath, didn't see it. Terminator, I haven't seen it. Expendables 3, did see it. Liked it. Let's see. Oh, well, I did see him, what was the movie? It's not here. Jingle All the Way. Classic. Amazing movie. That one's probably my favorite. I'm not even kidding. It's probably my favorite of all of them. I haven't seen Kindergarten Cop. I know that's like a classic as well. I haven't seen it. I have seen Predator. I enjoyed Predator. Connor showed me that on Halloween 10 years ago. I have not seen the rest of these, to be honest with you. I'm sure there's other ones that he was in that aren't on here that I've seen.
Christmas in Connecticut?
Guess he was in it.
That's so random.
So, interesting. The Rundown. I think I've actually seen The Rundown. I think I watched The Rundown when I was in college. The Rock's in that. That's like The Rock's movie. Yeah, Jingle All the Way's a classic, so that counts, and yes. Let's see. Boop, 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 boop. Next question here. Also from Noel, this time from Facebook. Thoughts on Forbidden Door? And do you see the American Dragon wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom next year versus Okada? I do. I heard that mentioned, and I'm thinking, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. That would explain why Brian won clean. I mean, he's doing other stuff right now with, Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite, and they want to keep him strong. Loved the finish. Thought it was a great match, but what's crazy is that they could do even better. I think Okada and Danielson are even capable, or more capable of a better match. Also, if Danielson doesn't get hurt, it could be even better than it was. So yeah, I do think they'll run it back at Wrestle Kingdom, have Okada win there, keeps him out of the title picture, gets Bryan in the Tokyo Dome, and they could probably have an even far better match there under different circumstances and more time maybe. I thought the Forbidden Door show itself, like I said earlier to Grunt, who was there, was an excellent show. Is it the show of the year so far? I don't know. Ask me again in December, but I thought it was a really fun show overall. Better than last year. Omega and Ospreay and Okada and Danielson all delivered. Some really fun undercard matches, hot crowd. I like Punk and Kojima. Some unnecessary matches. I hate that the pay-per-views are fucking 4 hours. I've just gotten used to it at this point, but it's like, I don't know, man. The show was enjoyable for what it was. Next question from Ross S. from Facebook. Big 500 already. Not even a question, just want to say congratulations. I remember the first one, and it didn't even feel long ago. Hey, listen, you're telling me, Ross. I completely agree. Does not feel like it was 10 years ago, but I appreciate you remembering the first one. You probably didn't send in that question for the first one, but I got to go back and see who did. See if any of them are still, I say with us as if they died, but if I still keep in contact with any of those people 10 years later. But I remember preparing for that first show 10 years ago, and here we are now. And actually, the funny thing about doing the show 10 years ago, I didn't get sent that many questions. I probably got sent in like 8. But when I first started doing the show 10 years ago, fun fact for you, that was before I made my channel. I was already a part of the monetization program, but I wasn't a YouTube partner or confirm my channel or something. So I could only have YouTube videos that were under 15 minutes. So I had to make those early hashtag videos 15 minutes or less. So I'd be keeping my eye on the time, like, fuck, we gotta go here, and I'd have to, like, not cut out questions, but really, like, okay, here we go, like, rapid fire. So if you go back and watch those videos, and I implore you, do not, they're not good. I can't go back and watch those. And two, that's why they're so short. One, because I didn't have a lot of questions, and two, because I had a time limit. Justin K. from Facebook, let's see what the question was. Emmanuel, actually, two things pop up in the chat. One from Noah and one from Emmanuel. Emmanuel said, I think genuinely WWE does not know, genuinely, what did he say? I think WWE genuinely wants to push Theory, but they just don't know what to do with him besides the opportunistic heel formula. They're high enough on Theory to where he's still on the show sometimes and he's a champion, but they just don't know how to get him to that next level. That Cena match was completely forgettable and a complete fucking waste of Theory and Cena. I hate to say that because I was in favor of that feud, but I feel like it's been all downhill for Theory since that Cena burial promo on Theory a couple months ago. He's not been the same since. And then No L's question in the chat. What would be your top 5 worst movie characters in Friday the 13th franchise? I don't know. I've seen a handful of those movies. Most of those people die, so I can't say that the worst, like, who's the best and who's the worst.
That's very random. That's very random.
It's a good question. Jason Voorhees is the best. Everyone else, I have no idea. I have no clue, but I enjoy the movies.
They should. I know they can't, but they really need to do a remake.
I think it's stuck in copyright hell right now.
Yeah, so. I was gonna say I know they're having issues, but
copyright.
Like what I wouldn't give for, was it Blumhouse that made the Halloween ones?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What I wouldn't give to see Blumhouse make a Friday the 13th remake. They really could knock it out of the park.
I agree. Justin Key's question from Facebook. Since I can remember, Adam Cole has always been my favorite pro wrestler since his early days in Ring of Honor. One of my favorite times was when he was with Bullet Club. That was short-lived, and I agree. Cole was like great in Bullet Club back in the day. Now that there is Bullet Club Gold in AEW, could you see Adam Cole re-entering Bullet Club after his MJF feud, or should he only be tied to Kyle O'Reilly if it's a group for Cole? No, I don't want to see that. I think Cole, he's been in a lot of groups. He was with Kyle O'Reilly back in the day as part of Future Shock, I think their team was. He was Bullet Club and Ring of Honor, Undisputed Era, the Elite in AEW. Those are all great groups. And Cole is one of those guys where I think he works well with the group. But I'm honestly it's refreshing to see him outside of a group, to see him on his own for a change as a babyface. And people like Cole. People really love Cole. He's out there getting great reaction. He's been booked well as a babyface so far. So why jeopardize that by turning him heel and having him join? First of all, let me just say this. Whether it's Cole or anyone, Bullet Club has got to fucking go. I don't watch New Japan anymore. It's been around for a decade.
Whoa! I don't know.
It's been around for a decade. Pull the plug, it means nothing. I think Jay White and Juice as a team is fine, but the branding of the Bullet Club, it says...
It's so convoluted.
It's convoluted, but the problem is that it's been around forever and it means nothing. It means nothing. I know New Japan loves their stables and whatnot. It's not your typical... Like, they've had some factions that have been around for like 15 years in that company. But, dude, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Bullet Club's got to go. So keep Cole as far away from that crap as possible. A Cole and Kyle O'Reilly... I'm sorry. I thought you said Jay White there at the end. Or should he only be tied to Kyle O'Reilly if it's a group for Cole? Yeah, we'll have Cole and White feud. Cole and O'Reilly can be... Listen, well, why have him join Bullet Club Gold if you got Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong? At that point, just the fucking Undisputed Era. I don't think Bobby Fish is doing anything right now. Call him up. Call him up on his rotator cell phone.
What would we... While he's getting his coffee.
While he's getting his coffee.
What would we call them then? We can't call them Undisputed Era. What would they be called? Disputed Event or something?
I mean, they were the Undisputed Elite at one point.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, then they could... I know they were heels feuding with the Elite. I mean, the Elite should be the heels. I mean, obviously. Because
they're assholes.
I find them unlikable, but, that's just me. So.
We hate the Elite here.
I don't hate the Elite.
I do.
You don't know the meaning of the word we. JCW555's question was... Emmanuel said, what about top 5 worst horror movie characters? I mean, are we talking about villains here? Like, who thinks, like, The victims, like,
Okay. Horror movie. I would say just
I don't
anyone
know.
from a horror movie.
I can only think of the villains. The people that get killed.
I got one. I got one, but it's a group of people. The fucking
band.
Great, fuck off! How did you know?
I remember.
The band from the newest Halloween movie. Oh my god, they were so annoying. Okay, so that's one.
That's it. Manuel said, I think Bullet Club still exists because merch sells and New Japan likes separating everyone into factions. I agree.
So does AEW.
Yeah, but New Japan even more so.
Okay.
JCW555, seen his interview quotes about Theory, have not done Theory any favors either. I agree. Even though he's not lying, but he probably shouldn't say some of the stuff that he does about Theory. He just does not come across well. At that point, why even come back to face the fucking guy? Like, he didn't do him any favors at all. I'm not saying it's Cena's fault, but it's kind of stupid.
It sounded like to me that he had like a genuine issue with the kid.
Which is fine, but they didn't do anything to make... maybe that falls on Theory, too. It probably does. I don't know. There's a lot that goes into that. Justin's second question, women's tag team titles are cursed championships with no real direction until the unification. Should the unification not happen, would you have liked to see the belts discontinued and in place of a yearly women's tag team tournament for a trophy like the Mae Young Classic? No, because I just feel like if you do, they unify the tag titles. That doesn't mean they can't still get rid of the tag titles at some point. They definitely can. Should they anytime soon? No, because I actually, shoot me, I know, but I actually kind of like what they're doing with Ronda and Cena right now. They're not terrible champions, and I think they work well together. They've had a couple good matches. I can't complain personally. So that being said, them versus like Raquel and Liv, I'll probably be getting popcorn during the show on Monday, and I'm not even there, or on Saturday when that match comes on. I'm looking forward to them. It should be a decent match, but like, they have no real teams. They just don't care. You could tell the company, not the talent. Yeah, but you're saying, like, do a women's tag team tournament? For what? What's on the line? There's no tag titles for them to fight after they win, like to win a fucking cup?
I think it's more of, like, a showcase of the talent.
Yeah, just do a Mae Young tournament, yeah. Why does it have to be a women's tag team tournament?
Women, no. Just a regular one.
A Mae Young Classic,
just bring back the Mae Young Classic, but I gotta say, they don't give a single shit about the women right now, other than, I mean... I haven't really been watching, so who am I to talk? But
and you said that you did earlier.
No, I watched the show. Well, I listened to your show.
No, I said the TikTok thing. Okay, maybe not about TikTok, but you have not really been watching.
Because I have a math class and I do homework every night.
Okay, what was the excuse a month ago?
There wasn't an excuse.
The month before that. You forgot that we had...
Stop! We're having our 5-year anniversary next month. Cut it out.
She had a math class starting after Memorial Day. She didn't even watch Night of Champions.
I wonder why.
What do you mean wonder why? It was a good show. Okay. Backlash was a good show, too.
I don't know. Okay, stop.
Exactly.
Stop putting me in a corner.
Stop me when you hear the lie.
Stop putting me in a corner. I wanted to talk.
Next question. Go ahead. Or go ahead. Continue.
I didn't even get to say anything.
You said the men. You said the WWE doesn't care about the women.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
And I think if they... I trust you on whatever you said about Ronda and Shayna. But... That being said, I think they could do a tournament in addition to having the women's tag titles. I think they should bring back the Mae Young Classic. I think it was fantastic. You know what else I think they should do with the women? I think they should give them more mic time and less backstage time, because it seems like the women are the ones taking over backstage, talking all backstage, and then they have like fake reasons to go wrestle each other. They don't say shit when they're out there. They don't connect with the audience. They don't have time to. Wrestle for 2 minutes, and then they leave. It's like, how are we supposed to give a shit? You know? So I think a tournament would be great, though, but in addition to whatever they're doing.
Interesting question from Emmanuel follow-up. Wouldn't a women's tag team tournament be like the Dusty Rhodes Classic in NXT? It is, but the difference is that in NXT, though, they have men's teams and they have men's tag team. It's not a men over women thing. It's just that we have a men's tag team division that has a lot more fucking teams than the women does. Like, you can have an entertaining women's tag team tournament with women's teams, but, like, what are they fighting for at the end of the day? Just because you do one for the men doesn't mean you have to do one for the women. For most things, yes, I agree, like the Rumble. But here's another thing. Are you a fan of Titan Show on Netflix? I've never seen it. So, like, War Games, for example. If you do a War Games match, do you need to have one with the women that same night if it doesn't make sense to do one? No. If you have a women's feud that makes sense to do War Games in, do you need to have one with the men that same night? No, you don't. I just don't think... I just don't like that idea that just because Rumbles and stuff like that makes sense. A women's Money to Make ladder match makes sense. To not do that previously was dumb.
Well, here's the problem. The men are treated like a default because of how wrestling has been in the past. So, I mean, well, okay, listen, the War Games thing, I think there should be a women's War Games match.
The same night as the men's, though?
Yeah, why not?
Why would you have a women's War Games for no reason?
Why would you have... Well, you can make a reason. Why would you have a men's one for no reason?
You're not. You only have the match when it makes sense to do it.
Exactly. They should make it make sense because they do it with the men every year. They make the men's matches make sense every year, so do it with the women.
If they don't have a compelling women's feud to do a women's War Games match with, then you don't do it. Same thing with the men. I don't even agree with doing the War Games match on the same night every year. They've been doing that for years now. I don't like that either. It's like fucking Elimination Chamber. You do it when it makes sense. I think it's goofy to have a story that negates, like, Blood and Guts is not on the same day every year. And honestly, if they do something, I don't really care about the Outcasts, but if they have a women's Blood and Guts match at some point, it makes sense because they're doing a women's story right now with them. Should it be on the same night as the men? No, that's silly. Do it at some other point when it makes sense for that story to culminate. I think to do it at the same time every year is just goofy because it puts you in a corner where you have to put all these other stories on hold. That's the problem. The women's tag team thing, again, can you have a great women's tag team division? Yeah, you can, but they're not going to. So we need to be realistic here. And I don't want to say pull the plug yet. I mean, I've said that a lot in the last couple of years, but maybe I'm a fool. I'm giving it a chance right now with Ronda and Shayna. I just don't think they care enough to make it work long term. Mask can get in a couple months. I just feel like the titles, there are other ways to showcase the women than what they're doing because they clearly do not care about women's tag team wrestling. They don't care about the women in general right now, which is a problem, like you said, as much as they should. But there are other ways with, like, via a mid-card title, which I haven't been high on in the past, but I like them more than a tag title, which there's very limited stories you can tell there.
I will say, if I can go on to SVR07, which only lets me have, like, fucking 4 to 6 women on my roster, if I can have 4 to 6 women on my roster and make a kick-ass storyline without any titles involved, then I think there's a problem with them. So they have some work to do.
Don't toot your own horn, okay? GM of the year.
Like 5 years ago.
At Ewagu91, first question, do you think Omega and Ospreay should have headlined Forbidden Door? No, because yes, it was the better match, but Danielson and Okada was like the dream match, never been done before. Danielson coming out the Final Countdown alone was worth ending the show with. The match was ass. That was really worth closing the show with. If the match was ass, it wasn't. The shocking finish with Danielson winning. You also probably would have run into the same issue. Omega and Ospreay had wrestled a much different style, but you would be asking me that same question if their matches were reversed. You would have asked me, should Danielson and Okada gone on last? Because the crowd was more dead for Omega and Ospreay because they went on last. It's a 4-hour show. Whatever went on last, they would have been less quiet. They would have been more quiet for than the match that came before it. Now, would they have been more alive for Omega Ospreay than Okada Danielson because they wrestled a different style? Like I said, yes. But still, I feel like Okada and Danielson. I said it going into the show, and I say it now. Even though the match wasn't as good as Omega Ospreay 2, that still should have main evented. They made the right call, and the match was great anyway, so I can't really complain. He also asked, suppose Omega and Ospreay will have their rubber match at All In. I've seen people say that. I don't think it's necessary. A third match would be great because the first 2 matches were amazing. I wouldn't be upset at that, but for what reason? To have Omega lose again? Ospreay should keep the championship. And Omega's got other opponents right now he should be focusing on. Takeshita's not going to be waiting there forever. He's doing the elite thing right now at Blackpool Combat Club. Omega's got other stuff to go on, going on right now. I don't think it's really worth doing a third. Maybe if it's on Dynamite, but why waste it at All In? At this point, it's an attraction because the matches were so great. But Omega shouldn't win. And I'd rather see Ospreay face almost anyone else from AEW at this point. I want to see him mix it up with some fresh opponents in AEW that we haven't seen him face. Fucking Ospreay and Punk, something like that, would be sexy. So I'm going to say no, but is it possible? Yes. Any thoughts on that? You got to verbalize. We're an audio podcast, pal.
No.
Your thoughts on Carmelo Hayes? I can't speak enough positive things about the guy. Obviously, Alexis is glowing next to me because we know him. I don't want to say I grew up watching him. He's younger than me. But
he is? How old is he?
I think so. He's 28, I think, 27, I don't know. But still, so I met him at an indie show, and I interviewed him at an indie show in 2016, a couple years after he started wrestling. And, I hadn't talked to him for a while after that. But it was when he had just started out his career, and it was for a college project I was working on at that point. What?
He's 28.
What's his birthday, though? I mean, we're the same age, but I'm just curious.
I keep forgetting you're not 27 anymore.
So it depends on August 1st. So he is older by a couple months.
By a year.
Less
1994.
Than a year. Yeah, no, I see the year, but it's less than a year, though.
Oh.
We're the same age right now. But so we're in, so he knows we know each other and whatever. And then I hooked up with him again when he went to NXT. I interviewed him. He was great, and we talk on occasion now, and he's amazing. Like I said, even if I didn't have that connection, I'd still be a big fan of his because the guy's just a star. He gives off that energy. He's a great worker. He looks like a star. He talks like a star. The guy, if you walk and talk like a star, you basically are a star. And he's a great dude to boot. And he's a very bright future ahead of him. No matter how he's not 6'8", but I don't think that's going to be a problem, much of an issue on the main roster. So
he's awesome. I will say the only thing I can say is when we were at one of the media events interviewing people, and Carmelo Hayes was next. We were next to interview him. I noticed because I was behind the camera and Graham was standing there waiting to interview him. So Carmelo was 2 feet away from him. He kept looking at Graham, and when it came time for him to come up to us, he went right up to Graham and he was like, "Hey, what's up?" And I just thought that was really cool. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's fantastic. After knowing all the stuff between you and him, I'm a bigger fan of his. I'm way more biased, but yeah, he's fantastic. He's awesome. I can't wait to see him do well.
And he just debuted on Raw a couple days ago, so he's got a very bright future ahead of him, obviously. Central Man Network, are you a fan of the Harry Potter films? I am. I've not seen them since I saw them over 10 years ago, but I've seen every single one. I made it through the first 3 books, and I stopped reading them, even though my mom bought me every single one. And I'm a reader, too. I just never finished them. But I like the movies a lot. You've only ever seen the first one, correct?
I've seen half of the first one.
Okay.
But I'm a Hufflepuff, and Graham is a Ravenclaw.
Okay, she's never seen a full movie, but she...
I like the little fun quizzes.
Yeah, you're odd. I like the movies, though. I do enjoy the movies.
You're a real fan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care about these sequels they're coming out with. They're a fucking reboot show. I haven't been to the theme park. All that stuff sounds cool.
Oh, the theme park is really awesome.
Yeah, I tried watching the other movie. I couldn't get through. And I don't stop movies, but I watched half of it and I turned it off. The Fantastic Beasts crap. They're really just trying to milk it's not a dead brain because people still care about it, but it's just not necessary. Those original movies were great, though. They did literally 8 in the span of 10 years, which is so fucking funny. Leron Ford from Twitter, his question was, is it time for AEW to use Athena more on Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision instead of hiding her on Ring of Honor? She's the best champion in the company at the moment. Athena's great. I mean, her heel work right now has been awesome. She is kind of relegated to Ring of Honor for the time being, a lot like Samoa Joe. They're just kind of banished to that brand. It's basically their version of Dark at this point. But she's doing great work. Hopefully when that run is over at some point. She's not been beaten since All Out last year when she lost to Jade. Other than that, she's on a fucking 40-match win streak or something like that right now. Even more impressive than Jade's, other undefeated streak, and she went unbeaten for 2.5 years. But no, Athena's great, and I'm enjoying her work right now. It's the best I probably have ever seen her. That includes her early AEW run, her main roster run in WWE, and either run that she had in NXT as Ember Moon. So, any thoughts on Athena?
She's cool. I don't know enough about her to really have a solid opinion. But I will say it really sucks that Ring of Honor is the designated hiding spot for wrestling right now. It just sucks. What a fall from grace from what they used to be. I mean, I caught them at the very, 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 very tail end. Literally the very end of them being good. So it's just a little disappointing that we consider that being you know what I mean, that kind of dark show. Mm-hmm. It's very disappointing, but yeah, she's cool. I like her. I didn't know she was on a winning streak though.
She's been on
40 matches,
something like that. I mean, she wrestles almost every week on the show, so yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, if that's the case, then absolutely, because last I checked, the women in AEW, I mean, they're better than WWE, absolutely, right now. But I mean, yeah, they should do more with her then.
At noob_n_co TV, your thoughts on John Morrison being signed to AEW? You put that in quotes. I mean, we haven't seen the All Elite graphic, so I assume that's why you put it that way. He said, I really hate how AEW uses former WWE wrestlers to be booked like jokes, from Jericho Appreciation Society to the Outcasts. Why can't AEW just sign original wrestlers from the indies? I mean, they do and they have. You can't say they haven't. I mean, you look at their roster, half of those guys are from the fucking indies, which is why a lot of people do not like AEW, or that's an issue that they have with a company.
I mean, the pillars of the company are AEW.
I mean, yeah, you can't say that.
Like MJF, Jungle Boy,
Sammy, Darby, Ricky. I mean, there's a lot of people. Eddie was not in a major company really before he came to AEW. He was never in WWE, or he wasn't in Impact for very long. But anyway, NWA for a little bit. But yeah, no, as far as Morrison goes, I love Morrison. I think the guy's great. Shows up as Johnny fucking Television and is paired with QT Marshall. I mean, you might as well call it a day at that point. That just sounds awful. That sounds terrible. I mean, what's even the point at that point? They can't just put him with his wife or something? I mean, I know they have a bloated roster. I'm not really sure how much of a space they have at this point. I mean, the guy should have just joined the company a year ago, if we're being honest, but I'm not sure if his luck really would have changed. Yeah. Him being signed to AEW is fun. Like I said, I like Morrison, but just putting him with QT Marshall is terrible.
I love John Morrison. I'm a big fan of his. So, I mean, when you told me what his name was, first of all, and the whole situation, I thought that was fucking dumb. Because even him being called, like, Johnny Elite, or, like, even his debut in AEW, didn't he lose? Like, what was his debut match?
It was the Owen Hart qualifying quarterfinal match. He lost to Samoa Joe. Yeah,
I mean that's a fine way to go out, but also it's just like, I don't know, he just seems like a background player now.
I mean, he's 40-something.
Yeah, I get it.
They could do more with him beyond that, though.
Yes. As far as them being booked like jokes, I don't think that's the. I mean, CM Punk came from WWE, and look where he is. Like,
you got to give me some names.
John Moxley.
And no, he's not talking about everyone from WWE, but the Outcasts, they're not like jokes. It's just that the storyline has sucked. Mm-hmm. Paige is whatever at this point. Tony's great and Ruby's fine, so I mean, she's not a joke.
Those two things, the Jericho Appreciation Society and the Outcast thing, are stupid, but I also don't think, like, the Jericho thing, was that not Chris Jericho's idea?
It was, and it's like Garcia's booked like a joke, but he's not.
Oh my God!
But he's not a WWE guy though.
Yeah.
And Hager's Hager, and the other two are from WWE, but they weren't really going to get beyond a certain level anyway. So. And
the Outcast thing, whose idea was that? Was that not Paige's idea?
No, it's probably Tony's. No, it's probably Tony's. But
no.
I don't know. I don't really agree with that second part, but the Morrison thing, the way that he debuted was dumb, and all this other shit. It's just, how can you even care? Anything involving QT Marshall, it's impossible to care. Their second question: do you think that Bianca Belair will somehow interfere in the Asuka versus Charlotte Flair match this week on SmackDown? I think this will cause a disqualification finish to start a non-title feud with Bianca. If it were up to me, I would save the Asuka and Charlotte match at WrestleMania. I was with you up until that last sentence. I do not want to see another Asuka Charlotte match for as long as I live after Friday. And hopefully I live for a lot longer after Friday, but I don't want to see another match after that. They've had far too many matches now. I know they work well together, but I'm fucking tired of it. And we haven't seen it in 2 years, and I still feel like I've seen it a million times. Everything else I agree with you on, though. Bianca is barred from ringside, we were told. She should still get involved somehow, whether she goes heel or is like a tweener, like I said with the Punk thing. That could be an interesting Shades of Grey character for her. But I love the idea at SummerSlam that we get either Asuka and... actually, you can get... Realistically, they're not going to do this. You could realistically get 3 women's programs at SummerSlam on SmackDown alone between Bianca and Charlotte in a non-title feud, which I like a lot, because that match does not need the title. Asuka and whoever she defends the title against, and then Io and Bayley on their own. So you could have Asuka face, maybe not, I don't know, but Zelina. They've had enough matches, and, I don't know. You'd have to build someone else up. But you can get 3 matches on SmackDown alone. I mean, Bayley and Io could be a good feud. Charlotte and Bianca doesn't need a title. So I liked it a lot. So we'll see what happens. I think we could, at SummerSlam, we could get Asuka, Charlotte, and Bianca in a triple threat. That's possible. I just want Charlotte out of the title picture. I don't know how realistic that is, though. Thoughts on Bianca maybe getting involved on Friday? Would you want to see it or not?
My hope would be that if Bianca did get involved, that it would lead to a heel turn. Because I've been hoping for that for months. But then don't please don't fucking do the match again, the Asuka and Charlotte match, because I hate the whole Charlotte situation the same reason that everyone else does. It's just annoying and frustrating. That she just gets whatever the fuck she wants. So if you're going to get it over with, I guess, then just get it over with on Friday and then have that be it. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. As far as Asuka goes, Emmanuel said, also Central Man Network said, Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice or Teen Titans Go. Which one is the worst one? I haven't seen either one.
Oh, the Teen Titans Go movie? Because we were at the theater for that.
There was a Teen Titans Go to the movies. I don't know if that's what he's talking about.
The Teen Titans Go show is okay.
I saw the original show. I like the original show.
The original show is a work of art. I was a big fan
I heard Batman and Superman suck, so let's go Teen Titans Go.
Well, no, which one is the worst one? Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, I haven't even seen it. I heard it was worse. Liv Morgan versus Asuka, Emmanuel says, would be great, but the problem is that they're on opposing brands, though. Not that that stopped this company in the past, but it's a fresh feud, but the issue is that Liv's on Raw and Asuka's on SmackDown. It seems like Liv's going to be in the tag team division anyway. Sigh. Next question from @RebornAgain, John Ritland from the Twitter machine. Check out a show, Real Honesty, with John Ritland on YouTube. John's great. His question was, where would you rank this year's Forbidden Door pay-per-view amongst AEW's string of pay-per-views since their inception? Oh, I don't know, man. I mean, they've had so many shows in the last 4 years, it's kind of hard to say at this point. Like I said earlier, though, it was an excellent show. I thought they had a lot of great wrestling. The 4 hours were long. Most matches on the show were great. Hot crowd in Toronto. And it was just a fun time. So it wouldn't be in the bottom half. I'll tell you that much. Double or Nothing was one of the weakest shows they've done. Forbidden Door, on the other hand, was an excellent show. Was it the best? No. It was better than last year's Forbidden Door, but it was better than Double or Nothing. Probably better than Revolution, because I don't really remember Revolution. Full Gear I remember being good. All Out was okay. It's probably the best pay-per-view they've done in well over a year. Double or Nothing last year sucked. So it's definitely one of the better shows they've ever done. Not as good as All Out 2021. That string of pay-per-views this company had from like Double or Nothing 2021, All Out, Full Gear, and then like Revolution 2022 were like untouchable. Untouchable. After that, it was not downhill. I'm not going to say they're all terrible, but I don't think they've really reached that peak again as far as their pay-per-views go. But Forbidden Door was an excellent show, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I haven't said that about most AEW shows I've seen. Although I did like Revolution and those other shows, but I did think Forbidden Door was slightly stronger. His second question, why does it seem like WWE is spinning its wheels with Rhea Ripley as the Women's World Champion? I know she's only been champion since WrestleMania, and they just gave her a new belt, but she's had no good feud since. It's because they haven't built up anyone. I say this every week on WrestleRant Radio. They have the talent. They don't want to build up anyone, though. That's the issue. You could easily do Rhea and Raquel, and I would like to see that. You could easily do Rhea and Liv, who I know just came back from an injury, but they're busy in the tag team division. Natalya is the best they can do. They're doing that match again next Monday. Who gives a shit about Natalya at this point? I mean, they don't have 5 women in that Raw Women's division. SmackDown, once upon a time, 6-7 years ago, when SmackDown came back as like the premier brand on Tuesday nights, SmackDown Live, they had 7 women on their roster. And they had 3 feuds going on at the same time. How does that even happen? And then like now you can't come up with one interesting feud. I know we got Becky and Trish and Zoe right now, which is good, but come on, man.
It's not that hard.
And it's not a Rhea problem either.
Absolutely not. She is like in her peak right now, and I don't think it's going down anytime soon. Yeah, it's their fault. It's 100% the company's fault for not building anybody up, because they have the people, they've called people up. They just, again, like I said earlier, they don't give them enough mic time. They don't have them connect with the audience enough. I just listen to each other, like ourselves talking about what WrestleMania matches or SummerSlam matches could be. It's the same like 6 women. It's the same women. Nobody gets a new shot really anymore. Rhea and Bianca were lucky. And it was just 2 women out of how many years that were lucky enough to like carve their name into history and be like 2 of the top women in the entire company. Like that doesn't happen nearly as often as it should. And it's very disappointing.
Yeah, they have an opportunity to do more compelling program with the women. They just choose not to.
Exactly. So JCW said WWE just focuses way too much on Lynch, Flair, Belair, Bayley, etc. Yeah, they do. I mean,
we're lucky they even built up Bianca and Rhea, but yeah, it's pathetic they haven't done more beyond that. Though.
Like we're just sitting here like saying, oh, Charlotte versus Bianca, like or like Charlotte versus Asuka, like how many times have we talked about a match between like the same 6 fucking women? Like, what? The next question is Lynch and Rhea. That's another thing. It's like it's the same thing. I mean, I know that's a new match, so that's different. But
they're just plugging. Yeah,
exactly. You're just interchanging different women. It's so boring, and you can do so much more than talk about a title. Like they do it with the men all the time. It's bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Immortal or Aces and Eights, which one was the worst faction in TNA? Aces and Eights was awful. Immortal wasn't great, but it was Aces and Eights was just a dark time in TNA. Next question about that same thing. At Kyle Rochelle, as we wind down here, when will Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch have a championship match? They've been teasing this match for a while now. If not SummerSlam, maybe Payback or Fastlane. I mentioned this before, and I've been asked this before. It is coming. They teased it on Monday's Raw. SummerSlam, it feels like a SummerSlam match, but Becky's busy with Trish and Zoe right now, and you can't blow that off before SummerSlam. It's like fucking dropping the ball at the 90-yard line. That makes no sense. Rhea needs a bigger opponent for SummerSlam. They can build up Raquel in short time. Maybe if she's not busy in the tag team with Liv, I don't know. I would do that, but Raquel just doesn't feel like a threat at all right now. She hasn't won an important match in forever, so I don't know how likely that is, but her and Becky, honestly, that could be the Mania match. Rhea and Becky could be the Mania match. It'll probably happen before then, likely in the fall. But to me, that feels like a Mania match. You said maybe Payback or Fastlane. Yeah. Like I said, it could happen in the fall. I don't want their first encounter to be saved for fucking Fastlane, but at this rate, it sounds like that might be where we're headed. And then the final question that JC, or J what's his username? JCW sent in on Twitter last night. JWJJCW555. His question is, he said, first off, Graham, congrats on the 500 episodes. Thank you so much. In all of your years of watching wrestling, in your opinion, which were the best and which were the worst? For me, 2000, 2002, 2005, 2014, and 2022 have been my favorites. In 2009, 2010, 2013, 2018, and 2019 sucked, in my opinion. Thank you. Emmanuel also said real quick, he said, looked up the SmackDown women's roster. Zelina Vega might be the biggest babyface Asuka could face, if not Io Sky. And I like Zelina, but that's a problem. You need to build up other women. That's just wild. So as far as your question, best and worst years I've been a fan for, I've answered this before, but not in a while. I used to really think about this was a great year, this was a worse year. Now at this point, all of the years blend together. My favorite, which were the best and which were the worst years of watching wrestling. I've been watching now for 15 years, so I do have a pretty wide range of years I've been watching for. 2008 was a pretty good year. Other people might argue otherwise, but I started watching that year, and if only for the Jericho and Shawn and Taker and Edge feuds alone, it was a pretty good year. 2009 was indeed pretty bad. I mean, when you have Donald Trump running Raw and you have fucking $1 Million Mania was in 2008, but they did some pretty dumb stuff in 2009. It was Cena, Triple H, and Orton all year. 2010 was pretty bad. I agree. It was pretty bad. 2011 was one of my favorite years, to be honest with you. It really was. Between the Orton Christian feud and the Summer of Punk stuff, it was a pretty good year. Other than that, I would say 2008, 2011, 2012 was all over the place. I liked the summer of 2012, but not a great year otherwise. And the road to WrestleMania was fun. I thought 2012 was solid. 2013, I love the summer of 2013, but the first half of the year and the second half were just fucking awful. So I can't say that. You put 2014 among your best, among your favorites, but I can't say that either. I mean, again, I like the summer of 2014, but the first couple months of the year and the last couple months of the year were just fucking terrible. 2015, I liked. Maybe 2015, definitely 2016. That was a great year for WWE between the brand split coming back and everything else they've done. SmackDown, specifically was on fire. So 2016, 2017 was fine. 2018 was not great.
2018 was ass.
2019 was not great. 2020 was COVID. Enough said. 2021 2021 I would put up there. I mean, the problem is that the first half of the year was COVID, but the second half, specifically for AEW, was amazing. That summer was just iconic. And 2022, what happened last year? Yeah, I think 2022 was a pretty good year for WWE. I would probably say, I mean, Triple H took over last year. I mean, if only for a little while. Yeah, you know what? I'll say this. My favorite, best years that I've been a fan for, 08, 2011, 2016, and 2022. Worst years, 2009, 2010. I like parts of 2013. 2014 was pretty bad. It was, I just thought 2013, the fall, is one of the worst periods I've ever been a fan for. 2018, I would put among the worst. 2019 was pretty weak. 2020, I would have to put in the worst just because it was COVID. And that would be my list. So, anything come to mind, Alexis? I mean, you haven't been watching very long. You've only been watching a third of the time that I have. So, worst and best years? If only you could pick one best and one worst?
Worst, fall of 2018. That was really bad. Best?
Thunderdome, clearly.
I would say there's a couple best, but they're very specific. 2022, probably. Like towards the latter half, like around WrestleMania and then past that, so yes. And then 2019, I think, was when I started watching NXT, or was it 2018? It's whenever NXT was on fire.
Late 2018.
Okay, so that's ironic, because it's, the main roster was ass, but NXT was on fire, like late 2018, 2019, they were killing it, so, yeah.
I'll put 2017 among maybe my favorites as well. It was an alright year, but not as strong as the other years, I thought, but I did enjoy that year more than some of the subsequent years. The last couple of years have not been great overall for WWE, but last year was pretty good, so whenever NXT was killing, it was also a lot of fun as well, I would agree. As we wind down here, Emmanuel said, I started watching in 06. I used to think the DX reunion was funny, but every time I rewatched them, the jokes decline. Yeah, those jokes are kind of funny if you're younger, when you're watching at that point. I was kind of around that same age too. I started watching soon after, but I agree. Although the impersonation that Vince and Shawn did of, not Vince and Shawn, but Triple H and Shawn did of Vince and Shane it's still iconic to this day. It's an amazing impersonation segment, and it still makes me laugh even all these years later. But we did it. We got through all the questions here on episode 500 of #AskGSM. We're closing it on 90 minutes. Usually we go a bit longer, but we got to get going here. Dynamite's starting in an hour. I got to go eat and do other stuff. So appreciate those who tuned in, watching on the replay as well. Thank you so much. It was pretty seamless actually going live here. Alexis, thank you to my technician sitting to my left, checking up on the streaming, the audio to make sure it was streaming all right. She will be back on the show at some point in the not too distant future, I'm sure, so keep an eye out for her. But yeah, 500 episodes in, 10 years later, wild. Here's to another 500 more. Thank you guys so much for always sending in the questions, checking out the video, your feedback. It's always amazingly appreciated. And yeah, you guys are the greatest. So continue to support the channel and all the other stuff coming up here on the channel in the days and weeks to come as we head into Money in the Bank coming up this weekend. We have a lot to talk about here on the channel. And listen, like I said, going live here was pretty seamless. It wasn't too bad. So you know what? Maybe we can end up doing another live stream in the next couple of weeks. I think I said that last time, and that was 2 years ago. So I'm not big on doing like post pay-per-view live streams because I'm usually either fucking working or sleeping at that point. I don't like that. Maybe we could do more live hashtags or live WrestleRant radios, or just going live for any random reason just to just shoot the shit with you guys and whatever's going on. Maybe react to stuff. Like I went live a couple of years ago when Bray Wyatt got fired, and we talked about that for a while. Maybe just doing more stuff like that. So Alexis falling asleep on my left here. Jesus Christ, wake the fuck up. Any other closing words, Alexis, as we wind down?
I wasn't falling asleep, number one. No.
Oh my God, words of a woman of many words.
I am. Well, I usually am.
Emmanuel says goodbye, congratulations. Grant says have a good night, and JCW says thank you, Grant. Thank you guys, all of you guys, for tuning in, sending in questions throughout the chat. I appreciate you tuning in live, sending in the questions in the live chat. You guys are the best and the reason I still do this show. So keep tuning in. We'll be back with episode 501 next week. If you want to send in a question to the show, please do so, as I always say, by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Have an awesome one, guys. For Alexis, I'm Graham GSM Matthews. And for the 500th time, have an awesome one, and I'll catch your ass down the road.